You know, what's going on? So anyway, yeah, so about the bin Laden thing, and the Americans are dancing in the streets, so they say. 50% of them, or maybe 60%, are not, because they're thinking the same as I'm thinking. Why would he have been dropped in the sea? They said because nobody would accept his body. However, those people who wouldn't accept his body are now, they want vengeance. They're going to get vengeance for doing away with him. But wouldn't they have accepted his body then? Yeah. Come on. If you're expecting logic from this script, forget about it. And of course, they didn't get the results of the DNA. Supposedly, we will never see it. And there could have been other reasons if it indeed happened. There could be other reasons for dropping him in the drink. It wasn't his body. Or it was his body, but it had been in the deep freeze so long it just turned to mush. Or his body was so damaged and in such a sad state from tortures and whatever that they didn't want anyone to see it. But either way, it doesn't matter. It does not matter whether he died, he didn't die, how he died, who killed him. None of this matters because he and the Arabs had nothing to do with 9/11. So who gives a damn when or how or where he died? Or if? It doesn't matter. It's all based on the big lie that he was the mastermind of 9/11. What utter drivel. Drivel. You can't dignify it with anything but drivel. Now everybody's talking about Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda. Let me tell you what Al-Qaeda is. Al-Qaeda was a computer base. When bin Laden was leading the Afghanis against Russia and helping the U.S. Give Russia its own Vietnam, he and the CIA met on that computer base. Al-Qaeda means the base. That's it. So the CIA, of course, he was one of their assets. The bin Laden family have been in business with the Bush family for decades. His brothers, the whole family. They were flown out of the United States, the whole family, the day after 9/11, when not one other plane was allowed in the sky. They were all flown out. They're in business with the Bushes. Huge construction company. Oh, but what do they say? That all the hijackers on the planes that went through the tower were Saudis. Had their pictures up the next day. So even though the Saudis are their friends, okay, they made these hijackers Saudis. They were already setting up their next enemy. The United States has a habit of setting up its next enemy. China's carrying all the American debt. They're building China up now. We're buying cheap crap, a lot of it contaminated. Our jobs are all gone. This is a corporate-ruled planet. Please understand that. It's not about loyalty or your country or your nation or anything. It's about this whole thing that's going on is, first of all, to save the most crooked money system on the globe. We are being drained. All our assets are being taken over globally by a banking system that is crooked. I'm with the Committee on Monetary and Economic Reform for years and years. If you don't understand the principle that a private group is printing the money for every nation on this globe, and when they print it, they charge each government interest. This is what's killing and draining this planet of its life's blood. Now, after the huge fiasco, where one congressman said, let it fail. Let's go back to each government producing its own money, printing its money free of interest. Lincoln did it. And all kinds of presidents, of course, I told you, were assassinated because they wanted to put the money back in the public hands with no interest on it. And they're trying to save, this is all going on trying to save that crooked system. It depends on wars. It has to depopulate because the system itself cannot support a normal population on the earth. So they have to blame the population, say it's their fault, there's too many. I could put the whole, well, not myself, but the whole population on this earth now would fit onto Rhode Island. Yes, shoulder to shoulder, but it would fit. And the people who are saying we have to depopulate are the same people who run this crooked money system. That's the only way it can keep on going. They'll do anything to save it. They will have wars, depressions, killing as many as they can, grabbing resources. So it's nothing to do with anything that's got any humanity in it. It's about saving this system. So that's what Al-Qaeda, and they're still Al-Qaeda. The Mujahideen, which fought, bin Laden's people, the Mujahideen, which fought with the Americans and the Afghanis to get out the Russians, now they've become the Taliban. Now they're bad. Same with the Saudis. The Saudis are good when it comes to business, but then they were the ones named that were on the planes. Number one, the planes there was nobody on the planes. They were done by satellite. They were guided by satellite. It was like the Indian fakir, you know. Everybody was looking up at the planes. And while they were looking up at the planes, buildings 5 and 6 were detonated. The bombs in 5 and 6 were detonated. You can see it at the bottom while everyone was looking up. Second plane came through, buildings 5 and 6, which had already been robbed. All the files from the SEC were taken the night before, and the gold or whatever was in the vault the night before. And as people watched up at the second plane, these 2 buildings were exploded. The bombs were set off exactly when the second plane went through. So that's what happened there. And the people who know that, there's 3 or 4 now that are hiding out in South America. Yes, they know that. And FEMA was in the day before, September 11th. They were in on the 10th. They took all that stuff out with trucks the night before. There's tunnels. You could just go in, drive it all out, no big deal. And who made, and so we have to do another investigation now, because I'll be doing a 9/11 class. I do one every term, and it is on video. But I will be doing one this term about buildings 5 and 6, and it won't be the usual forensic investigation. We've done over and over and over and over DVDs on the forensics. In other words, the method, how it was done. Now let's finish the investigation. Any normal police investigation after a killing or any kind of massacre, 3,000, yes. Who benefits? Who had the means? Who had the opportunity? Not one 9/11 investigation has considered that. That's the other half of the investigation, or it isn't one. Okay, we know. It's like finding the knife or the gun at the murder scene. Okay, we know how, and then saying, okay, that's the end of it. Let's go home. Investigation over. We know how. What nonsense. Nonsense. So now the people who ran this scam are getting worried because too many people are getting too close to the truth. Who did it? Who made the money on it? Who's got all the SEC records? Who did all the put options? Who made the billions on 3,000 deaths? Nobody wants to do that because they'll be threatened immediately. They'll have to leave. So that's the next part of the investigation we have to concern ourselves with. And they know that. So that's why bin Laden, Al-Qaeda. Oh, and the second thing, isn't it wonderful now? Those people who didn't want his body, the hero, his own people, didn't want the body, but they want vengeance. Another illogical mock-up. So now they can ratchet up the whole security I don't go through airports. I don't care, ships, buses, whatever. I won't take a plane because it's very cancer-causing. Businessmen will have cancers like you wouldn't believe. So, and of course, the guy that owns all these scanning machines is Chertoff, who was head of the Homeland Security. Business is business. It's a corporately run world. And governments do what the corporations tell them. That used to be called fascism. It's still fascism. They bombed Gaddafi again. About 10 years ago, they bombed his house and killed his granddaughter in the crib. This time, I heard it 2 nights ago, they killed his son and his 3 grandchildren. And then I never heard another word. So getting bin Laden, they have to do something. You know, the weapons of mass destruction have to be brought out. So now they're using poor old bin Laden because there's a big cover-up on what actually happened to Gaddafi's family. And you have to remember that the Americans are no longer have a constitution as they had when they started up. And they bombed 27 countries since World War II. 27 countries. So there you have it. And I haven't heard another word about Gaddafi's family at all. But he's not going to leave till the last bullet, trust me, because they've been so awful to him. And they're using DU, of course, in Libya. They are covering that whole area with DU. That will do away with the population. They'll all get raging cancers, and that'll be that. And of course, just apropos of what we're talking about today, Gaddafi, now this is in 2009. I've got it here. Gaddafi at the UN on September 23rd stated, "Swine flu is the result of military war labs experiments." They don't like him for that either. He's blowing the whistle, you know, on these things they're doing. So they have good reason not to like Gaddafi. So the radioactive dust is falling on Tokyo. And our radiation has gone up 9% here. If you have a Geiger counter, you can check on that. And on May the 8th, I think, they said on Richard Serrett they're having Dr. Apsley on about the radiation. So Sunday, May the 8th, you might want to listen to that at 11 p.m. They promised to have him on. They were going to have him on last night, but the bin Laden story just knocked everything off the news, the papers. It was just the biggest story.